Isn't it just cool to see your assignment in JavaScript? I mean, yeah, it's a yucky language, but isn't it fun that you can just send a hyperlink in email to your friends and they have your game? They don't have to install it. They don't have to commit to your game. They just click on it and they're playing it. I think it's cool. There's something fun about programming inside the web browser. So yeah, you can now stick your stuff on the web, as evidenced by you have to do that for this assignment, and just email a hyperlink to the grader. Yeah, let's look at what you're going to be doing in assignment 8. First, we're going to learn about the HTTP protocol. Anybody even know what a protocol is? Instructions. Kind of, sort of, but kind of not. Here's my explanation of a protocol. By the way, is this on? Yes, okay. You know how when you pick up the phone, you say hello? And then the other person says, hi, I'm calling for so-and-so. And then you say, shh, that's me. And then you go into your dialogue. And then when the phone conversation is over, you always say goodbye, bye, and then you hang up. You never hang up without saying goodbye. Why? It's rude. And you don't pick up the phone and just say, or go on, because that's not the protocol, right? That's not how you do it. You don't say, talk to me. Some people do that, and it's funny, but you know, and that works because we have caller ID now, so the protocol has been changed by caller ID. But before caller ID was a thing, before you could pick up the phone and say, hi Tom, you had to do this introductory thing because it's important. Why is it important? Because if you don't follow the protocol, you don't know what's going on, right? Okay, that's what a protocol is it's a agreed upon way of communicating between two things. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transport Protocol. What is hypertext? Nobody knows what hypertext is? So a hyperlink is a link inside of hypertext. Hypertext basically means web page language. So when you write the, let me open some place in which to type. When you start typing body / body, and you start making tags and HTML stuff, I guess we usually enclose that in HTML and put that in /HTML. This is hypertext markup language, or just hypertext for short. You've certainly seen the extension .html, right? That stands for hypertext markup language. This is hypertext. What is so hyper about hypertext? I don't think anything is. I think that's just a cool adjectives they appended onto it to make it cool. Yeah?
What does a UTF-8 mean?
UTF-8. So when you save a file, in fact, let's do that. Excellent question. Save like desktop. I'll call it UTF-8 file.txt. Now I'm going to go into my desktop. Well, that's a lot of garbage on my desktop. Clear that. Try it again. One more time. Okay. A lot of dumb text files on my desktop. Let's try again. Let's UTF-8. There. So I'm going to do hex edit UTF-8 file.txt. Do you know what a hex editor is? Interestingly, this file is not saved in UTF-8 format. This is an ASCII file. I know that because you notice that the first character in the file, wait, I think it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. So this is an ASCII file. You can see it's very small. And this is the hexadecimal representation of these particular characters. And if you look at it, this text file contains nothing but the characters that I typed right here in my file, right? And you notice there's a new line character right here after the HTML. That's this period. And if you look over here, it says 0A. A is the number 10 in ASCII format. And it turns out that Number 10 is a new line character in Unix, or yeah. Now if I change the format to, wow, this can save in a variety of formats. Now, it says I'm saving it as UTF-8, but that's actually not true. Okay, let's save this as an ISO format. Whoa. Apparently it reinterpreted as an ISO format rather than... Okay, here's the point. There's a whole bunch of encodings for text files. Now, raw ASCII files look like this. They just contain the characters that you typed. And that's what you're looking at. When you save a file in UTF-8, what it actually does is it begins the file with two special characters. And I can't remember what characters they are. You'd have to look in a hex editor to even see them. And those two special characters say, this is actually a UTF-8 file. Actually, I can force it to do what I meant, now that I think about it, by sticking a special character in there. Now I'm going to save that as a UTF-8 file, break out of my hex editor and look at it again. Haha. Now it's actually saved in UTF-8 format. If you notice the difference, what happened? Okay. The difference is, see how HTML starts here on character number 1, 2, 3, 4? So these first three characters don't actually appear in the file. EF, BB, BF. Apparently that is the special character that starts in all UTF-8 files, which says this is a UTF-8 file, not a ASCII file. The difference is, in a UTF-8 file, all the characters from 0 to 127, the normal range of ASCII characters that you use when you make a file, are just normal text file. But when you have a special weird character like this Chinese character, anybody know what character that is? I don't either. Okay. Well, so right after body, we have right here, wait, HTML body, look at this. You see right here, that looks like it corresponds to these 5 symbols. 0A, E3, B9, AC, 0A. Well, that is the UTF-8 encoding for that Chinese symbol. And essentially what it means is, in UTF-8, you can use a bajillion symbols because there's some way of encoding them. And in regular ASCII text files, you can only use the first, the characters that show up in an ASCII table. In fact, if you've never seen an ASCII table before, all programmers need to see one. I don't like that one. Google Images ASCII table. There's one. Here's an ASCII table. Okay. You might think that the number 0 is actually a 0. It's not. It's a 48. Does that bother you? Yeah. Okay, tough beans. The number 9 is not actually the number 9 in the file. It's actually a 57. And a capital letter A is a 65. And a lowercase letter a is a 97. And you know, actually all the letters, characters that we type are really numbers. And the ASCII table tells you what those numbers are. Well, the first 127 of them are what people used for years and years until all of a sudden the internet came about and people realized, oh yeah, there's other people besides Americans. And we have to accommodate them too. And so we had to extend the table. We didn't have, that's not the right way to put it. What I'm saying is, these weren't enough symbols, so they invented more formats. First there was Unicode, which is a really crappy format, and then UTF-8 came later, which is a better format. It turns out that UTF-8 is kind of a generalization or superset of plain old ASCII, where all the usual Roman letters just take up 1 byte. The computer industry has mostly standardized on UTF-8 now. So UTF-8 is the format of choice to use. If your boss says, what should we use, Unicode or UTF-8 or ASCII or blah, 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 the answer is UTF-8. Everybody uses UTF-8. And that means your text files will actually start with these magic characters, which most text editors know to ignore. And it means you can put other symbols in here, that some of which require many characters to encode. When I changed my format from UTF-8 to Unicode, it took the same symbols and reinterpreted them in Unicode format and became another big mess. I wonder what happens if I do that. Looks like it ignored me. Okay. Well, a few other things you should be aware of. See how I use just a 0A for a new line character here? That's the Unix standard. On Mac, they actually use 0D, or the number 13, which is actually a return character, which is not the same as a new line character. On Windows, they decided to solve the problem by putting both a new line and a carriage return character on whenever you press the Enter key. So you can tell whether a file was written on a Unix derivative or Linux or Mac or Windows by whether the new line characters are carriage returns or new lines or both. On Windows it's both. And that creates a great big mell of a hess for anybody that works with text files, and you should be aware of it. Because have you ever opened a file in a text editor and it was just one all big massive run-on line, and then you open it on a Mac and it has nice returns, or vice versa? If so, that's what's going on, is your character encoding is corrupted. And the answer is, well, it appears to me that most of the world is finally, after many holy wars, standardizing on using new line characters, meaning 10 or 0A for new lines, and forgetting about carriage returns. So essentially, convert everything to the Unix standard, and then you're doing the right thing, is my opinion. Somebody's going to be furious about that and tell me that Mac is the only true standard, but, well, they're wrong. So moving on. Anyway, suffice it to say, there are lots of formatting wars in text files. If you're ever working on the web and you cannot see your special symbols, it might be because you saved something in ASCII and it should have been UTF-8, and now you know what to Google and deal with.